What's poppin'? It's your boy Moses, aka Nomo, chilling right here inside the Lit Out Podcast. I got a very special guest in the building. I got Mr.
Sonnie Babbel from San Bernardino, California, Inland Empire. Man, honored to be here.
Appreciate you pulling up, man.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to Southgate, the first and last time you're ever going to be in Southgate. The only time fools pull up to Southgate is to be on Lit Out Podcast. Have you been to Southgate before?
Never. This is my first time, bro. I'm not gonna lie. We'll be back. But this was my first time pulling up here. I don't got no ties over here, which is cool now. I got somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
You got the Lit Outlet with you.
The Lit Outlet. Let's do it.
I appreciate you taking the drive down from San Bernardino and in the rain, which is fucking difficult. You know, California people don't know how to drive in the rain. So.
Nah, at all, bro. I was like, I'm like, don't hit a wall.
Yeah, fucking Mario Kart status and shit.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But I definitely want to start from the beginning for some people that maybe this is the first time listening to you, people that are watching the podcast. But you've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
But before we get started into your career, tell us about where you're from, where you grew up.
Man, I'm from San Bernardino, California. Grew up in San Bernardino. To me, like, it's represented me as an artist, my music, kind of where I take it and whatnot. If you know a lot about San Bernardino, you know that the people there are good. It's rich in culture, but it's not the greatest place to be around. So yeah, grew up in San Bernardino, California, and it's where I'm from.
So San Bernardino is probably one of the biggest counties in California as far as like square footage.
Yeah,
it's big.
It's fucking huge.
But it's also like a lot of land.
Yeah.
Like not a lot of civilization, you feel me?
A lot of warehouses.
Yeah. A lot of jobs and shit like that.
Yeah.
How was it growing up in a city like that, that didn't have the greatest like maybe entertainment?
Yeah, I think that's what it is, right? It's like San Bernardino it's huge. It's like I like you were saying, it's the biggest county in the I believe in California it is. So when you're there, you would expect like culture, a lot more artistic culture. In reality, bro, because the way the city has just been shaped, it's a lot of poverty, a lot of like homeless, a lot of just abandoned houses, burnt houses. I mean, you go down Waterman and it's like, God, it's just bad. But honestly, I think that shapes your perspective on where you're at, and it artistically it gives you something to speak about. It gives you something like, dang, this is what you're seeing around you. So it's a definite reflection on my music, and artists who come out of San Bernardino, they speak about it as well, like heavy.
Do you feel like you've been rapping for a really long time, and obviously we'll get into how you started, but like, do you feel like the rap has been something part of your life that is kind of like a destiny for you, or like was there anything like big adjustments or anything that happened in your life as a young man that kind of set you on this trajectory to be a rapper?
Yeah. Honestly, when I was I would say the earliest memory was probably when I was six or seven. I just remember like my father and his friends were rapping, and I just remember being in the studio like every night watching them. And I mean, as a boy growing up, like you look up to your father. That's like that's your best friend, the person you want to be. And a lot of times people don't realize that, or you don't realize that when you're 6, you know what I'm saying? But you're around your pops every day. Your boy, he's probably around you every day. He wants to feed off you and see what you're doing. And when I was in the studio with him, like it always felt like it was just something, at first it felt real fun, but as time evolved and time goes on, it became therapy to me. Like, dang, I can actually speak about what the city's like, what I'm going through music. And I didn't realize at the time what I was, that was gonna be what it was for me, but eventually that's where it got, like therapeutic.
How was like the household? Because I grew up like with my parents being immigrants that came at this to the country when they were like 12 and 9, right?
Oh shit. Okay.
So like, all their family came over from Mexico. They kind of like lived a Mexican lifestyle, but in a different country. Was that similar for you, or your parents and your family been here for a minute?
My family's been here for a minute. My grandma's from Mexico, and my granddad, he's from I think he might be from LA actually. I thought Texas, but I think he's from LA. But I know I'm a third generation Mexican, so definitely grew up in like a Mexican household. But growing up, if I'm being completely honest, like so my birth mom and my dad, they split when I was really young. So I had went with my dad for a real long time, and then my mom went and was doing her thing. And so it was a little I wouldn't say tough, I would just say challenging. There was times where we were not in the best spot, like 1-bedroom apartment with, I have 3 other siblings. So I have a brother and a sister, and we were held up in a 1-bedroom apartment on like a super rough side of the city with my pops and his wife. And that's, funny enough, that's where I had found like my actual love for music, because it just might not have been the best environment, but I'm seeing my pops do something and he's having fun with it. And so it's like, you're very blessed, like, dang, this is a good time. I'm here with everybody. Like, you don't realize your circumstances when you're that young. So it was a little challenging. I won't lie to you. It was tough, but I think my dad and my family did a great job of, if it wasn't music, it was sports. Like if you're not gonna do music, you're gonna be involved somehow, and keeping us distracted from that, because San Bernardino, again, it's a real gritty spot. So he put us in sports really young, and then I attracted to music really young. So yeah, it wasn't crazy, but it was challenging.
Here in Southgate, it's like 99% Hispanic. Like,
oh fuck.
One of my best friends growing up, one of my neighbors, he was black, right? But he was like half or like 75% black or something. But it was mostly Hispanic. Is that similar in San Bernardino, or is it more of a what's it called, like a?
I would say
mixing pot.
I would say it's a mixing pot, honestly. Just because there are certain spots in San Bernardino where it's like predominantly Mexican culture, but there's also spots where it's, the black culture or whatnot. So I would say it's a mixing pot. Really, I really don't see, yeah, you can kind of see the whites on the north end, but like it's really rare. You know what I'm saying? San Bernardino's, I would say mostly Mexicans and blacks. You know what I mean? That's the truth. That's the honest to God truth.
A lot of times too, people that grew up here in LA would move out. Their families would move out to like the IE somewhere.
Yeah.
Because they just get too expensive, or like they'll get in trouble out here and they're trying to start a new leaf. Did you notice people in your school, like, will all of a sudden you get this new kid and he's from LA?
Yeah.
How would you notice how they adapt to San Bernardino?
Bro, some of them were just, because I bounced around a couple different schools, right? I went to a school in the north. It was Cajon. It's where, I don't know if you know where Jaden Daniels, he's a Heisman winner. He won the Heisman recently.
Okay.
So he went to that school, and I was there for, I want to say like 3 years. Definitely there was some gang banging, but it wasn't too crazy, right? Really, when I went to continuation school, San Andreas, that opened my eyes to like so much different shit, right? When I started going to San Andreas, that's when I started running into people from LA, people from San Bernardino, people from Ontario, just because it's a continuation school. So it's like everybody who failed, we're gonna throw them into this one fucking. So it's a mixture of just, this is gonna be bad. So there was riots at San Andreas, and whenever it would usually be. Honestly, I met a couple people from LA. Actually, one of my best friends growing up, his name was Darius. Shout out to Darius. He might be watching. I don't know if he is, but he's from LA.
Okay.
And definitely could tell early on that he was from LA.
How can you tell someone's from LA that they live in the Dino?
I would say their slang. Their slang is just different, man. This is different, and their swag too. Yeah. Their swag is different. Their swag, their slang, like it's just, you could tell. You could tell, like, oh yeah, he's from LA for sure. Dino cats and IE cats were, I would say a lot of us are mellow, but like if it pops off, it pops off. I would say LA cats are a little bit more rowdy and upfront about being rowdy. Like, I'm from LA. Like, you're gonna know I'm from LA. Very quickly, you're gonna know if somebody's from LA. Like, whenever somebody starts popping off, like, I'm from woo, 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 woo.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, you're definitely from LA for sure.
How do you feel like, because, I feel like, I'm from Southgate, which is kind of like, some fools will be like, oh, this is not LA, whatever, this and that. Like, it's Southgate, it's not LA, it's not that crazy. Like, but I'm sure people from the IE or San Bernardino also feel like, oh, you're from San Bernardino, you're not really but you're not from LA. Like, it's kind of like a little brother type of feel. Like, you get kind of like backhanded compliments.
Yeah, it is.
How do you feel about LA?
Me personally, bro, I gotta be so transparent here. I like LA. I like LA, and I like LA's culture. I believe that there's a system in LA where it's like the mecca for what I do. It's hip hop. So LA is the start of, gangster hip hop. You talk about Dr. Dre, you talk about NWA. These cats are from LA, and you have to have like people who set the tone. So LA set the tone for the IE to be able to do what the IE is doing now. But it wasn't always like that. So when your little brother and you're in, especially people who've been grinding for a minute in the IE, like I know cats who've been doing this shit for like 15, 20 years, I can see where their frustration comes from, because LA is literally next door. So it's like, okay, well, if you guys are next door, what's the issue with not reaching back and trying to pull people from the IE? But also, I feel like that's on the artist as well. You know, like the IE artist has to make music and has to be talented enough to reach an LA audience. Like, I know it's crazy, but just speaking on the way we met, like the show we did, it's really rare that you find a group of IE cats that can go to LA and give a great performance. Like that's rare.
Yeah.
And as of recently, the IE has shown that we can hang with the LA cats, but it wasn't always like that. Like,
right.
Let's be honest, in the early 2000s, it definitely was not like that. There wasn't a lot of cats coming from the IE. And when you really, for me, at least my era, when the IE really started bubbling into like the LA scene and they could be, they could hold their own, was an audio push. So the You're a Jerk, I know, You're a Jerk. So those guys are from the IE. And they're actually from town. They're from San Bernardino. I know one of them is from San Bernardino. I don't want to get it confused, but I know one of them is from San Bernardino. And really, for me at least, those were the first cats that I seen that were like, dang, okay, they got a song that's like nationwide, LA wide, like they're getting played. So yeah, I personally like LA, and I love the standard it's set. Like, this is the standard. Okay, now it's our job as IE artists to follow that standard, set the standard. So I fuck with LA, but some artists are like, man, like, just get better, bro. Get better. And it's a lot of time they don't make good music, bro.
Yeah, a lot of people want to make excuses, but it just comes down to like talent, right?
It comes down to if you can really do it. Like, can you really make a song? Can you really write a 16? Can you make something catchy? Because if you can't, then it's every other excuse in the book. I don't get no opportunity. But it's you just don't got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, listening to your music and seeing other podcasts that you've been on, like it's obvious to me that your dad is really a big part of your personality, or like your character, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm not really too familiar with your dad, right?
Yeah.
So tell me like what kind of music he was doing, how he got his started, and like what happened to your dad.
Yeah. So funny enough, man, he started with like gospel music, like gospel rap, just because he grew up in a church. He grew up in the church, like he wanted to be a part of their church. So he started with gospel music, gospel rap. And as a kid growing up, he didn't have anybody who he could look to be like, yo, I want to make music. Who can I go to understand this? Like, my grandpa worked at the train station, and nobody in my music did family prior to my dad. So I believe he had linked up with a couple of his friends, and they were just trying something in their high school, right? And then over time, it became more than a hobby for him. He wanted to make it into a business. So he LLC'd, and then he created a record label with his best friend. So they created a record label, and it was going on for some time. He was an artist, and then, sort of as an artist, he sort of took the back seat and wanted to start managing people. Just because as time goes on, you start weighing out your options. Like, okay, if I want to do it, I'd rather manage or do something productive for it. And so he was an artist. Then he kind of filtered into the management role. And once he was in the management role, I honestly think that's where he thrived the most. Like, being able to see both sides, right? Because he taught me everything I know about music, man. Like, from understanding how to write a 16 to producing to engineering. Like, he taught me everything. But his strongest spots were marketing. Like, he did some great things in his section, and he was able to break a couple of artists. Unfortunately, he passed before he had seen me understand, but his lessons, like his marketing lessons, his engineering lessons, they fucking live on with me forever. And it's a beautiful thing to see, because like when people see me, or at least from the town, people will see me, they'll be like, yo, like, before you, it was your pops, but your pops took a back role to see you do what you're doing now. So it was my pops, man. It was a beautiful thing before he passed. He really, again, just speaking about like what I said earlier, he inspired a young boy at that age to like, dang, I want to do this. Like, I can do it. So
how did your dad pass away?
Diabetes complications. So he had a stroke, and then once he had the stroke, it just started affecting the brain. And then we made a decision as a family to just because the doctor had said like, hey, there's a chance that because I believe he had the stroke, then he went into a coma, and they're like, hey, there's a chance that he can get out the coma, but if he does, for sure he's not gonna be the same. And if you knew my dad, like if you knew my dad on a personal level, if you knew him on like a friendship level, that's just not, it's not what he would have wanted. And he would tell us, like, you know, if it ever gets to that point, that's not what I want. Like, just let it happen. So we did. We let it happen, and it was tough. It was a tough decision for like the whole family, but we know in the end that's what he would have wanted. And yeah,
like, you guys had like to pull the plug type of thing.
Yeah, we had to pull the plug. It was tough, man. It was tough. You know, at the time too, I'm a kid. Like
How old were you?
I was 16. Yeah, so I'm right where I was a teenager getting, you know, when you're a teenager, you're fucking mad at the world. So it's just, you're going through changes, bro. So it's just like, losing him at that time too, it really fucked me up. You know, it set me back a lot of years on my health, my personal health, on my mental, it set me back. But eventually it would be the driving fuel to where I'm at now. Like eventually it would get there, but as a kid, like, I just went buck ass wild, bro. Like I truthfully think that's where I picked up my, I could drink, bro. I could drink a lot for my size for some reason. But I think that's where I picked up like some of my heavy drinking shit was after my pops passed. Like we were pretty much, after he had passed, you know, family is distraught and whatnot. And I just started picking up drinking, joined a couple party groups in high school and just like started just going crazy, bro. So yeah, but you know, once the trial, you know, trial and tribulation. So once the trial came, I knew that there was going to be better days. It was just getting through that initial like shock, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know, when you're a teenager, because I went through that too, like you look for any excuse to go fuck some shit up.
Bro.
And there's no bigger excuse than like, you know, you just lost a parent, right?
Yeah.
Your main parent. How did you like not end up like at like worse? Like how did you not end up in prison or do some stupid shit? Like what was going through your mind?
I'll be honest, it was I had a really, again, speaking about my friend Darius, I had a really good friend who had really went through some stuff. Like he'd really went through the life, you know, the street life. And he would always tell me like, you know, there's two ways you can go, right? There's that way, you know, and that way for me, it's almost like, not saying it's bad, it's almost feels like defeat, you know, like, okay, I always think like, whenever I think back to some of me and my dad's conversations is potential. He always says like the worst thing is having wasted potential. So the worst thing is having other options, and you go this route. Because in a blink of an eye, like your life is decided in 15, 20 seconds, and you know, now you're locked up and shit. And I had family who also was locked up for a really long time. And whenever they would come and like talk to me about, you know, my pops passing, they would always tell me like, this is not what he would want. Think about the lessons he taught you and what he would want, you know? And I think that's what caused me to be like, nah, I can get crazy, but I can't get too crazy. Like, I can't get too reckless. You know, I gotta do the bare minimum, bro. You gotta, if you gotta go to continuation school, let that be the case. Like, you gotta get the diploma. Yeah. Like, you gotta do the bare minimum. But it was really, you know, some of my best friends who really were like in that life, they were telling me like, man, that's not what your pops would have wanted. And it was some of my close family who was locked up. They would come, they would write me on Facebook, bro. Found a phone and would be like, yo, like, I'm sorry about your pops, but I just want to let you know, like, do not get too crazy, you know, from what they were hearing. You know, they call me and be like, hey, you know, your grandma phoned me up and said, yada, 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 you're doing this and that, like, what's going on? You know, so when I would get those calls, I'd be like, shit, like, I gotta do the right thing, bro. So once that happened, I was like, you know what? I think I can do something with this music shit. Like, I think I can do something. So they were really the ones that pushed me forward to do something better.
You know, like you said, we met at because I had you come perform at the Lit Outlet show
that was fucking fun too.
Last October, which was, you know, a story in itself. But to me, like, you seem like a smart guy. Like, has a head on his shoulders. Like, how did you end up at continuation school,
bro? It was honestly, it was a passing. Like, so my dad had passed the start of my junior year, but the end of my sophomore year. So sort of like that summer break where he had passed. So going into my junior year, I was already partying. I was like, fuck, I'm finna just hit this party, that party. So right when my junior year happened, I just was like, you know what? Fuck this, man. I was just tapped out, man. I would legit I feel bad for some of the teachers that I apologize, man. Mr. Thornsberry, I'm sorry. Mr. Piazza, I'm sorry. Like, there's a couple of teachers that I really just did foul. And I think it was just anger. I was just mad, man. You know, Pops had just passed. Again, it's not an excuse to be a dick. Like, that's not an excuse to be an asshole. It was just what I was on. Like, I'm not finna. And they were trying. They were like, yo, bro, like, one of my English teachers, she was really shocked because we were doing Shakespeare that year. And for some reason, I was like, oh, he kind of spits. Like, he could spit. Like, my boy's he kind of got some bars, bro. So when she was teaching me about Shakespeare, I was like, dang, I was really tapped into it. And she was surprised because, like, all my grades, I've pretty much failed all my other classes. But I think that one I ended up with, like, an A- or an A, like, an A, like a pretty good grade. She was like, it just doesn't make sense. If you applied yourself in every other class the way you do here, you'd be all right. But yeah, no, I was just on some bullshit, bro. That was it.
And then, you know, speaking of when you were young and had bars and stuff, I'd have to bring up Fat Boy Swag.
Yeah. Had to, bro. That's a classic,
so
man.
Tell me when, like, your dad, or, like, were you spitting and writing shit behind his back? Did he tell you, like how was the conversations around, like, you finally getting on a track and recording vocals? Like, have you been doing it for a long time? Was Fat Boy Swag your first attempt at music? Like,
nah,
tell me how that broke down.
Bro, fucking crazy. Yeah, so like I was telling you, towards the back end of his music career, he wanted to do the management thing. He was like, I don't want to keep rapping. I want to make this official. Like, I want it to be something that I can hand over one day. And so towards the back end of his rap career, he took the management role super serious. Like, he was signing artists. You know, he had signed, I think, like 4 artists. And he wanted to create this group that, like, the city knew about. So when that had first started, I was like, yo, I'm in. Yo, like, let's do this. But I'm young at that point. So I'm probably like 9 or 10. And I'm like, yo, like, let's do this. And he looked me dead in the eyes, bro. And he told me, like, honestly, I'm not going to give you a shot till you earn it. Like, you have not put in any time to even be a part of this. Like, yes, you have grown up in the studio, and yes, you know, you've showed me a couple of your verses or your poems, he would call them. Like, you've shown me a couple of your poems, but you haven't put enough time in for me to invest like what I have built into you yet. You haven't shown your work ethic. So, like, I need to see you work at it before I'm even going to take that step, because I'm managing grown men. Like, these are grown men, and you're 9, 10 years old running around here like you have a spot. You don't. So I was like, fuck, my game plan, I was like, I don't even know how I would start. So I, back when YouTube was like first coming up, bro, I was doing like freestyle videos every weekend. Like, so it was in the front of the house that I grew up in. And my aunt, she was like, because I told my aunt the situation. She was like, you know what? I have a little camcorder. She was like, we're just going to get the camcorder, and you're just going to spit a verse every weekend for the rest of the year. And you're going to post it on YouTube, and we'll see how the numbers go, like how it happens. So we started in, like, I want to say like late January, and we went till I was 9, probably till like 10. So about a year that I was doing verses. And then I just got out, you know, showing, and then over time you're consistent enough, 10 views turn to 50, then 100, then 1,000 maybe. So it's like, okay, so it got to that point, and once it got to that point, like, we revisited the situation, and I'm like, you know what, I want to do this for real, like, but this is my body of work. Like, here are the videos here that I did. It might not be the best right now, but it's fucking moving. It's like, it's consistent. So once he had seen that, he was like, all right, well, yeah, let's do it. Let's package together an album. Let's package together, like, a plan for us to fucking really go hard at it. And then that's how Fat Boy Swag came. That was my first single for, like, my first official album. But I was doing, like, the mixtapes, passing them out. Like, it was crazy, bro. But Fat Boy Swag is the first single for my first official, full-length project, which, God, such a classic song, bro.
The music video too.
It's crazy. That music video is crazy. I just walk up, I'm like, 50 pizzas, please.
Yeah,
And a Diet Coke.
200 weeks.
And just a Diet Coke. I'm like, oh, yeah, it was a great time, bro. Great time.
Whose idea was like behind the whole like music video?
That was a combination of his idea, my idea, and one of my uncle's ideas. There was a couple other cats like who had shot the video that was dope, but really, because the video was shot in a pizza parlor.
Is that still around?
It's not, bro. That fucking, they tore it. Oh, God, I was so upset, but they tore it down. Yeah. They tore down the pizza spot. It's a 24, not a 24-hour fitness, it's a Planet Fitness now. So whenever I drive by it, I'm like, you motherfuckers. But it was a pizza parlor, bro. And before it got tore down, it did have some traction. The pizza parlor had some traction, you know, because they were in the business of like selling food, obviously, but they were holding events. So it was actually one of the spots for like a cool 2-3 years where there was actually some really big shows that were held there. But yeah, the idea came from him, me, and my uncle. And my uncle was just like, let's do, you know, where he's walking up, it's Fat Boy swag, you know what I'm saying? Let's have him be swagged like a big boy. And so that's where the intro comes in. And then the people who I'm standing with, or there's like a couple of scenes where like I'm next to big cats, like big guys. Those were the artists that were signed to the label. So those were artists that were, you know, like, oh, okay, I've seen you around the studio, but like, you know, I'll hop in your video type shit. So my dad pretty much grabbed all the artists from the label, threw them in the video. I was around them, so then they shared it, got some buzz. Because at the time, bro, like when they hit 4,000 views, at that point I was like, damn, like,
I'm popping.
I'm popping. I am popping, bro. I went to school. I just remember going to school, and I just remember one of the teachers going like, yeah, I seen that music video you did. And I'm like, oh yeah, what'd you think? And they're like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. It was, you know, it was nice. It was nice.
At that point, people at school already knew you were rapping?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing too, was like, so I was doing these freestyle videos, but I would go to school and I would literally just rap at lunch. Like, all right, well, actually, funny enough, shout out to people who know me for a minute. I would be like selling sodas and candies for my backpack. And then like I do that for like 10, 15 minutes, just make a quick little 30, 40 bucks. And then I was like, you know what? I'm about to just start rapping. So they would form like a big circle. But at that time I was in middle school. But there was a couple of high schoolers that rapped. So I would go to the high school because it was 2 separate campuses. So I went to military school, which, God, yeah, it was, I don't know. All
boys?
No, it was a girl and boy school, but it was a military school. It was like a firefighter school. So I think just because I was a little rowdy, like as a real young kid in elementary school, I was kind of rowdy. So my pops had decided to send me to military school to kind of like shape me up to be a little better. So there was 2 separate campuses, right? So there was a high school campus and a middle school campus, but they were facing each other. And there was just one long dirt road that fucking connected the campus. So I would walk to the high school side without people knowing. I'd just be like, I'm about to walk to the high school side. So I'd walk to the high school side and they'd be like, yo, I actually went to go and sell like fucking sodas, chips to the high school side. But then I would see people rapping and I'd be like, oh, all right. So then I'd fucking battle people. I'd like hop in Cyphers. They'd be like, yo, Sonnie, come hop in a Cypher. It just got to a point where I'm like, fuck. In middle school, like every other day, I'm like just in a fucking Cypher. I want to say at that time I was like, now I'm like 11, 12. You know, Fat Boy Swagger came out. So, yeah, I was just trying to like just get my name out there and just stay consistent. And then you never know, man, like, well, at the time, I didn't know this, right? At the time, looking back, you're sort of growing up with your audience. So people from those days remember, like, I remember that, like, chunky kid freestyling at lunch all the time. Like, oh, he's still doing it? Like, you know, so people will rally behind that and be like, yo, it's fucking, I can't believe he's still the course type shit. So, yeah, it was.
Were you holding your own or, like, were the rappers pretty good at that school?
They were okay. There was one in particular. I'm drawing a blank for the life of me right now. But there was one in particular that was giving me fits. But at the time too, I'm young, and I believe he was like a junior, and he was like he was just actually pretty dope for his age. He was pretty dope. But he was giving me fits, bro. Like, he'd come back and say some shit, and I'd be like, damn it, that was fucking clever. I'm like, fuck, that was clever. Like, I don't know what he would, it was crazy because he'd start off, this is how I knew he was really good. He was actually really good because I would say something, finish it up, and then he would start off by what I'd finished saying. So, oh, you think you nice? No. I'm like, motherfucker, man. I'm just sitting there like, Jesus. Hands folded, like just mad, like, But yeah, it was.
Would you get in trouble for being that? You're not supposed to be there, right? You're not supposed.
No, I'm not supposed to be there. Yeah.
You got caught.
I did. I got caught a couple times. They were like, "Yo, you got to go back to middle school side." Like, you know, they would give out these. Oh, actually, funny enough, that school got caught up in like a fucking scandal because they were saying that school was always like they would kick kids out of the school. So I guess in the education system, you really can't kick a kid out of a school if they don't do like anything bad. So they were caught up in a scandal, like I'm not for sure what it was, but I know that they got caught kicking a kid out for grades, like failing grades, and you can't kick a kid out for that. But yeah, they were a pretty strict school. They would actually, funny enough, they would make us run as punishment, bro. So we'd have to, because it was a military school. So like if we got a bad grade or something, I just remember like having to fucking do planks and like run to the fence and back. Like, they're like, for this lunch, you're gonna run to the fence and back the whole time. And I'm just like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna walk. So yeah, it was just, yeah, I'd get in trouble. And then too, they were upset because I was selling stuff. No. So as a kid, I was still hustling. Like, I think I'd buy like a 12-pack of Cokes, like, you know, just sell the candy for $1, Cokes for like $1.50, $2. And once the teachers caught wind of that too, they were like, go run. I'm like, what the hell? This don't even make sense. Just give me a referral, bro. Like, this don't even PSA, Public Safety Academy. That's the name of the school, man. It was sometimes, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But in the music video, you have like, I guess like your love interest in the music video, and then she's also like in a different video.
Yeah.
Is that like your homegirl or something?
It is. She's a really good friend of mine. At the time, like, man, it was funny because at the time, her dad was a part of a whole different record label. So her dad was a part of another record label that my dad's record label, they were just friends and whatnot. So he had told my dad, like, hey, you know, I have a daughter that's his age, like, she could be the girl in the video. Like, the girl in the video could be innocent, but, you know. So for that video, she's like the star on it, but she's the daughter of another founder's label. So I was like, oh, okay. And she's dope. She's a homegirl. She also did a Good Life. That one too that was a couple years later after Fatboy Swag, but she was in that one.
Yeah.
And
that's the one where like her dad picks her up in the white.
Yeah, that's her dad, bro. Shout out to her dad, bro. They're cool. They're cool people. But yeah, they were. She's a homegirl. She like I don't know. Oh, you know what's crazy about her story? She's a fucking boxer, bro. Like a professional boxer.
Oh shit.
So yeah, she's fucking killing it wherever she's doing. And yeah, that was crazy because her pops. It was so weird. Her pops was the head of a label, and then my pops, and they're like, just have her be the star of the video. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, it was cool.
You know, that Fatboy Swag video, and even the way your voice sounds and the way you're rapping, it really reminded me of like a Bow Wow, little Bow Wow style.
Oh, shit.
Like, it just had that Bow Wow feel, you know, like where it's a kid kind of rapping about adult shit, but also like a lot of like kid type themes.
Yeah,
you know? Was Bow Wow big at that time, or that was already past his time?
Bro, that was past his time, but I could see the simile. I could see like just because, I mean, like when, at least for me, when Bow Wow was coming up, he was like a star on multiple, like a movie star, a musician. Like he was sort of, I think he was, he did great with his opportunities. Like, okay, I'm going to also be a movie star. Like if I have all this right now, like I'm going to capitalize on it. And I feel like as a kid, I was saying absolutely yes to anything. Like, yo, shows, videos, music video appearances, studio sessions, like I was saying yes to anything. So I can see where the similarities draw interest, like, okay, yeah, for sure.
And there's also another music video where like you're already older and it's like the Twilight Zone type
okay, yeah.
And the bars are still, they're not like, you know, super graphic or super like adult. Right. But you're still like, you're getting like transitioning.
You can see it.
You're transitioning into like being a little bit, way more like lyrical, I guess.
Right, you see it.
Tell me about the process about that song and that music video.
Yeah, the Twilight Zone was crazy, bro, because so over the years, right, Fatboy Swag had came and gone. And then really it was a choice where, you know, my pops are still managing me, but I want to say, like, for the first LP, it was a collaborative effort for a lot of people. Like, okay, yeah, I was writing the bars. Obviously, I'm writing the songs. But, hey, for a hook, let's throw this person on it, or let's try to do something more melodic. So when the first album came out, it was like a mixing pot of helping hands. Like, okay, try approaching it this way, that way. When the Twilight Zone came out, that was completely like, you're on your own. You need to figure out how to record yourself. You need to figure out how to hit up these producers. Like, we're pretty much leaving you the keys to run your thing, you know, because the first LP had got some noise, you know, it's doing some stuff. So I'm like, okay. So when the Twilight Zone came, it was sort of like, really, for me, I know the Prince Charming album, Fatboy Swag, that's my introduction as a kid. But for Sonnie, that had felt like the first step into figuring out, okay, how do I make a song? How do I write a 16? And I think that's where you see, like, you can hear like the lyrical schmiracle, like you can kind of see, you know what I mean? Just because I felt like there was a lot more to prove there. So the record, even I think I mentioned like Fatboy Swag being a couple years old, and I'm just like real angry. Yeah. But I think the approach for that was based strictly off of like, okay, this is your time now to prove something, so prove it. So it's like that chip on your shoulder where you're like, all right, well, I got to rap, so I'm finna rap. So
yeah, because you have a bar where like, yeah, this is the same guy that did Fatboy Swag, but that was a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, which is crazy because, you know, it's like, it was just a chip. It was a chip on my shoulder, and at the time, like, again, it's an independent record label, right? So there's money being flown, you know, being drawn to different artists different ways. Like, you know, they invest into this artist when it's this artist's turn to have a rollout, you know. Let's say it's John Doe's time to roll out music. Everybody's focused on John Doe's promotion, his interviews. We're not worried about any other artist right now. We're worried about John Doe. So yeah, at the time, the label, there was some heavy hitters on there, and there were some people that went on to like do some crazy things that were on the label. And so when it rolled over to my turn, I had felt like, yo, this has to be something that I create. So it was a lot more fire and a chip on my shoulder to like, damn, I gotta make this shit just as lyrical as possible. I don't know why I went the lyrical route either, you know, but it was a good song.
Like, you know, the Fatboy Swag maybe was like, I'm just assuming, right? It was probably like super cool. All the kids like, hey, I saw you on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's fucking dope. But after a while, did it become kind of like people trying to make fun of you because of it?
Yeah, well, you're the Fatboy Swag kid. It's like, that's the kid that is Fatboy Swag.
They try to like box you in, right?
Yeah.
So did you lean into it, or did you feel like, you know what, I'm more than this? And then would you get mad about it?
I try to break the mold. I try to break that mold like as fast as I could, just because I felt like, so as a character, for me as a character, like even like as of the most recent project that I dropped, once it comes and goes, I'm looking for the next thing. Mm-hmm. I don't want to stay in a moment for too long, because when you do that, it almost feels like you're letting time and things pass you by. And so when Fatboy Swag came and gone, my next thing was, all right, well, what's next? Like, okay, Fatboy Swag hit, but what's the next thing that I dropped that can hit? And for a long time, bro, I'll be honest, like, they didn't hit. You know, that was the thing that I had a couple of songs. I had like you talk about the one with the homegirl in it, The Good Life. I felt like that didn't really do as well as Fatboy Swag did. And you know, sometimes you have those special moments where like, okay, this is a moment, right? But you always, at least for me as an artist, I'm looking for what's next. How could I go further and further and further? And so it took a minute, bro, to break that fucking box. Like, it literally took me, I'm gonna be honest, it literally took me losing, for at least in my eyes, it took me losing weight to be like, yo, okay, now this isn't the Fatboy Swag kid anymore. This is literally a whole new person. So I was trying to break that box as fast as I could, but for a minute, bro, that was what it was, you know. And I understood that, like, dang, you know, this is the song you need to close the night with. This is the song your homies know you for right now. Like, you need to market this and trend towards it when another moment happens, because it will. Like, you just need to be ready for it, and when it does, you know, it can move. But, you know.
Yeah, because you were big, and obviously you're not big anymore. Talk about like what was like Why did you want to lose weight? Was it on purpose? Like, how did the losing weight thing happen?
Man, I'm gonna be so honest, bro. I lost weight the most unhealthy way possible. It was really after my pops passed. So right in 2016, 2017 when he passed, I got super depressed, bro. I really went from like eating as much as I could to I don't really want to eat at all. So I would, you know, just stay in my room, not take too many meals, and it messed with me, man. It messed with like my sleeping schedule. I started going to bed at like 6, 7 in the morning. You know, it's just depression, man. So that was the way I lost it, to be honest. Eventually, I would go to the gym. Eventually, I would try to get my body right, drink more water, be more healthy. But the initial way that I lost it was like the loss of my pops. It was like it just hit me really tough, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was tough.
And then you took a break, right, from music?
Yeah. So once he had passed, I was like, again, I was just like, just speaking to it. I was just doing a bunch of fucking shit that I shouldn't be doing, getting into a bunch of bullshit, and then and I was like, you know what, this music thing, I'm like, I don't even know if I like it, like as much as I am perceiving I do, just because we had all those moments that I talked about leading up, you know, like, hey, the Fat Boy Swag moment, the working on a year's end to try to prove to my dad that I can join the label, all that had felt like he was by my side the whole time. And when you lose that, it's like, damn, you're losing somebody who had literally seen you and inspired you step by step to get here. And so I wanted to refine myself, like, okay, well, I'm gonna take a couple years off. Like, I'm not gonna hit nobody up. I'm gonna take a couple years off and see if this is something I want to do. On top of that, I really just needed to get like my life together. I was, at the rate I was going, I probably wasn't gonna graduate high school. And then I just kind of slipped into like this crowd where it wasn't the best crowd to slip into. And I was like, you know what, I don't wanna get caught up with shit that I shouldn't, or be caught up with the people that I shouldn't. And so I was just trying to figure it out still at that time, like, all right, how am I gonna do this? So yeah, it was that break was definitely fucking needed, bro.
Yeah,
definitely.
For me, dog, like, you know, with your dad and rapping, for me, my dad was baseball, right? So when I got to like around 14, 15, I got like burnt out. Like I was a really high caliber, like, you know, middle school, high school baseball player. But then I just got burnt out, like,
yeah.
And I knew what I needed to do to get to the next level was like just go into the gym and extremely work out and run and get like into my fitness shit. And I've always been lazy, dog, so I knew it wasn't for me. So it was a difficult time in my life with me and my dad would fight a lot because I was burnt out and I don't want to play baseball no more. And everyone's like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, you're so good at baseball." Did you experience like any burnout with rap? Did you like stop listening to it, stop making raps? Like,
yeah. I really would say I would call it a burnout, yeah, because it's like when you face that type of demon in your life and you lose somebody like that, it's like you don't really want to. Where's the motivation in getting up and, you know, being as consistent as you were? Where is it? Like, it's literally gone. For me, at least, I think, to speak to my situation, the motivation is completely gone. You know, and you probably felt like, dang, what's the motive? Like, you don't want to get up and go to the gym because there's no fucking motive behind it. There's no, why do I need to work at something that I have no love for? So that's why the break was needed. Because I honestly think if that would have happened later on in my life, like if that situation, you know, if that situation where I lose motive like that would have happened in my early 20s, I don't think I'd be doing music. I think I'd be on a completely different life. Like, I probably wouldn't have cared enough to be like, dang, I'm gonna get back into this, you know? It took that break, and honestly, it's unfortunate. It took me being that young to look at the situation as literally like glass half full. It took me being that young to be like, dang, well, if I take a break, if I stop making music, I'm 16, because I didn't make music again probably till I was like 19, 20 years old. So it took like a 3-year break for me to be like, all right, I'm comfortable enough to put myself back out there to the world. It took me being that young for me to make that but take that break and evaluate myself in that light to be like, okay, well, I'm 19 still. I still have all the time in the world to, you know, make something happen. So I'm thankful for that break. Like, it's what I needed, bro. That break is just, it's what I needed.
When you came back and started rapping again, do you feel like you were rusty, like you needed to kind of like, or it was kind of like second nature to you?
Fuck yeah, I was rusty, bro. Yeah, I was rusty, bro. I just remember, well, because at the time, right, like, I gave it up. Gave everything up. I don't want to be a part of the label that he created. There was like, behind the scenes, that could go to a whole nother spill. There was like behind the scenes stuff with the label that was happening that I didn't like, because I had felt like, yo, my dad had built this and I had worked my ass off to then be handed this, and other people who businessly were a part of it felt like, yo, you're just not ready. You know what I mean? And coming back, there was a lot of situations where it was just, again, sort of like that chip on my shoulder, like, okay, I did it once before and I was able to connect with the right people. I know I can do it again, but I want to do it this time really by myself. Like, I want to this time find the producers. I want to this time build the studio. I want to become the machine. I want to know how to market. I want to find a videographer. I want to find a photographer, and I want to do this myself, you know, not rely on other people. And coming back it was a sense of fresh air, bro. Like, dang, I get to start all the way over. This is actually fucking fun, you know? Because when you're under a label and you have all these things and all you need to do is show up, sometimes you lose the drive, you know? I think that a lot of people talk about it. Once you're in that, it's a lot harder to roll out of Gucci sheets than it is Walmart sheets, bro. It's a lot harder to roll out and do it and keep doing it and keep doing it. So it was tough, bro, but coming back was really fucking like, I had felt like, all right, I got my second win. Like, this is the second win I needed.
Yeah. You know, the music industry is an industry that rolls in and out of trends really quickly, and it advances rather quickly. Example, like, you know, social media too, like one day you're hot, one day you're not.
Yeah.
Did you have to like learn a lot of new things from that 3-year break? Like, did the music game change even from like recording or DAW systems? Like,
yeah.
What are some of the things that you had to brush up on, and what did you do to, like, you know, catch back up?
Dude, everything. Everything. But at the particular time, I was recording off of like a free software, and by the time that I had came back, I had started, you know, rubbing shoulders with people who were also on the come up. Thank God I did. But they were letting me know, like, hey, it's no longer like that. You can't just press up these CDs and pass them out to your school anymore. Like, that's just not, that was maybe at the back end of what you were doing in high school, but that's not the way it is now. A lot of it was moving, at that particular time, was the SoundCloud era. So at that time, it was like, you need to find a way to get your SoundCloud up. You need to find a way to get your plays up on SoundCloud. And so I knew the importance of already marketing. I knew that, like, the groundwork was there, like the foundation was there. Because regardless of anything, I always wanted to build a foundation. To even just to speak to that foundation, to where if I'm doing a show in LA, I can bring out 25, 30, 40 people, like a foundation of people who will pay X amount of dollars for tickets. I mean, that foundation that you build is going to be what is going to surpass you from being an artist who is here today and gone tomorrow to being somebody who can make a lucrative living off of it. It's having that foundation. And so I knew that I had a foundation, but for when I had returned, I had understood that I needed a social media presence. I need somebody who how am I going to create content? What is content in 2016 look like? Like, well, that's SoundCloud. SoundCloud was like the big thing, and SoundCloud artists were like popping, bubbling, and it was, you know, right at the time of fucking like Gucci Gang, and like it was just, the SoundCloud era was just booming. So I was like, okay, well, I had still had like my connections from my high school, and I was hitting these parties. So I was going to, like, at the time I had made relationships in my junior year, what I was talking about. I had made relationships with like party groups. So like I was in a party group and we were going to different parties every weekend. So I was meeting different DJs, like, oh, okay, well, this DJ is cool with me, he'll play my shit, shout it out on SoundCloud. This DJ is cool with me. So the song's getting played at different kickbacks, different parties, and I believe that grew my social media presence from like you know, you have your 500 followers, so then, okay, well, now you're hitting the 2,000s, 3,000s. And I really think it had to do with the, funny enough, it became full circle. It had to do with me being on bullshit. Like, oh, I was going out there just meeting people like, oh, I'm Sonnie. Like, yeah, I rap, freestyle. And then, like I talked about earlier, people who had already seen me when I was young are like, dang, he's still at it. Like, I gotta, so like, this is just so consistent. I gotta support. So the social media presence became bigger over time. But when I first came back, the SoundCloud era was like booming, bro. Like, you got to make a SoundCloud. You got to post up on there as constant as you can. A couple songs did some good numbers, and then it would be cool because I would go back to like my brother's high school games, and they would like in the stands and shit when I was there, they'd be playing my music. So like, okay, so because I made connections with that DJ, he's DJing at this field. He wants a clean version of the song. Boom, send it to him. Now people are like, I've heard this song a couple times. I just don't know who it is. Like, but oh, here's his information type shit. So yeah, the SoundCloud era was booming, bro.
That's tight.
Yeah.
When you got right back into rapping again, were you already like engineering yourself? When did the engineering start?
Man, engineering started probably in 2020, right during COVID. So I was.
And then for people who don't know what engineering is, what is engineering?
Man, engineering is pretty much the ears, right? So when you hear a song and you're like, dang, does this song sound clean? I use the word clean because there could be times where it sounds like you're fucking recording in a restroom, or it sounds like you're recording on Apple headphones, or it sounds like, you know, it's real boxy, or things that really clean and radio ready music. Can you make radio ready music? A lot of artists sometimes fail to understand the importance of an engineer, of a producer, because it's a machine. Like, you have to figure out how these things are supposed to sound. And so engineering, just for people who are like real basic 101, is making the song sound as clean and professional as possible. Like, let's package this up the right way.
And it's also the guy sitting behind the computer pushing record.
Right, you push record. It could be, so there's a multiple. For basic 101 engineering, it is like, okay, the guy who presses record, there's like 4 different type of engineers. There's a tracking engineer, which is a guy who presses record. There's a master engineer who makes sure the song is mastered the right way. There's a mixing engineer who mixes the entire song to make it sound that way. And then there's just an engineer who understands, like, okay, put a drop there, put a beat stop there. I want a 4 count here. Like, I want the beat to go underwater here. So there's a different multitude of engineers, but I take on the role of all 4 of them at that time in 2020.
How did you learn all those skills?
That, man, that is due to my good friend Ogash Leotis and another one of my friends, Nabian. And these guys, so they were a part of the system when I came back. So when I was coming back, bro, I was making as many phone calls to like my old connections as I could. Nobody picked up. Like, respectfully, nobody picked up.
Why do you think they didn't pick up?
I fucked off a couple relationships, bro. Yeah, I think my pride and like I talked to you about on the business side of it, like after my pops passed, I had felt like things were owed to me. I was like, well, I already did this work. I did all this work to eventually run this. But I'm young, man. I'm like, you know, at the time, I'm 17 when supposedly the keys were supposed to be handed to me. And, you know, his business partners, I think, made the right decision not giving me the keys, because it pushed me to do it myself.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do it yourself.
Is that business still around, your dad's old business?
No, it's not around. It's oh, you know what? It might be around. And I can say as of today, me and every business partner that he had have mended our relationships, which they had came back later on in the picture when they seen what I was doing, and they were like, yo, wow, like, I gotta tell you, because we were going back and forth at each other, man. Like, we were throwing disses at each other. Like, it was pretty much like on-site type of situation. Like, if he seen me, I seen them, it was up, you know. And I had fucked off a couple relationships, bro. I'm like, just fuck you, you know. I'm a kid too, so I'm angry, like. But granted, like I said, I don't give you an excuse to be a dick. It don't give you an excuse to be a dick, man. And I was being a dick. I told him, I was like, you know what, bro? I was a dick, man. Like, I said some things that I shouldn't have said, and he said some things that he shouldn't have said, and they did some things on the business end that I wasn't happy with, and it showed. And luckily now we're in a better place. But yeah, with the engineering stuff, that came back when I had started coming back into the picture. And so I had started going to these events because I was like, you know, when you're trying to get your foot back in the door, you just need to show your face. Show your face and show up. Show up, man. Write your verses, write your songs, show up. Get your foot back in the door, figure it out. So I started going to these events, and I heard of this producer that was bubbling. Shout out to my producer, Oh Gosh Leotis, and my other producer, Nabian. They were like bubbling, but they, I guess you could say in the city, they were doing like some big things. So at this point, they already had a couple placements, like with some major artists. My personal producer helped with the Bay record for OT Genesis. Like, I look like Bay. Da, 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 da. And he had produced like half the song. So, and then at that time, the other homie Nabian, he was doing shit for like Drake, and he did he played keys for one of Drake's songs. Like, they were bubbling. At the time though, I didn't know shit. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna get my foot back in the door. And I'd seen one of his beat sets, and I was like blown away, bro. I'm like, holy shit, this guy, crazy. So I asked him for his business card. He was like, I don't have a business card, bro, but I have a social media. So, all right. So then I got a social media, and then I was like, man, I want to lock in with one producer, and I want to come back and create this project and have it feel like it was cohesive. Like and he's the only one, bro, who answered my call. And we did the project. That was back before like he owned a building, before he did all the, like, he's a YouTube, he's a content creator. He has like multiple brands, and he's just done for the who's who, man. He's like, I'm really proud to see where he's gone. But I had caught him in the nick of time, bro, like right before all that happened. And funny enough, bro, like, his character is so humble. He's just like, he don't care about none of that shit. He was like, yo, he was like, nah, I had already, he was like, funny enough, when we had first gone to a session, he was like, I've heard about you before, bro. He goes, your dad used to promote your music to a couple of my homies. And he was like, at the time though, I wasn't like a big producer. I was literally like producing like in a shared bedroom. And he was like, your dad had promoted you to me a couple of times, but we just never locked in. So I was like, oh, okay. So we had already had a connection. I didn't know that Pops was even working when I didn't fucking know.
You have a pretty huge social media presence, so I would love for you to like drop some knowledge and some game on how you engineer yourself, you produce your own music, and
Right.
you're also dropping hella content
Yeah.
on social media. So like, what is your rhyme and reason? What are your methods behind controlling or like taking over social media?
Yeah, man. I think the biggest thing, like I mentioned before, is showing up. Like, you have to be consistent. I know, the woke artist is going to tell you, but I'm not going to go on TikTok and dance for people, or I'm not going to go on Instagram. Like, it's no longer, music is no longer received the way it used to be. It's no longer like, hey, we're going to get these CDs and pass them out the back of our truck. That might have been what it was decades ago, but the era that we're in now, it's like everything is content. You load in Instagram, and you don't see rappers who are pretty much, the way I approach it, bro, this is the honest to God truth. When you load in on Instagram and you see the rappers who are consistently posting, they're usually the ones who have the more streams, the more value to their name, because you're giving the people what they want. You're giving people constant content. If you're rapping every couple months, like, it's gonna be hard for somebody to look at your page and be like, yeah, I want to invest into you as an artist. Well, you only rap, 3 times a month. It's actually, funny enough, I look at the Kobe thing, it's like Kobe. Kobe was in there taking free throws, doing shots every morning. How many did he take every morning? 500, 600 every morning. The more shots you attempt, the more likely something's gonna fall in.
Yeah.
And when it falls in, that's when you get your opportunity to, hey, boom, like, all right, this is the piece of content that people like the most. Let me tailor towards that. So for me personally, I've learned the auto-tune stuff is super dope, but rap, that's my core thing. So usually my numbers will show better with rap music than it would be with hopping on there, giving you some auto-tune stuff. Like, my supporters, the people who are behind me right now, they remember me from rapping, being a kid rapping, and it all plays a part of my story, at least personally. Like, yo, that Sonnie who used to do the freestyles every day, or that Sonnie who, hopped in the Cypher. people aren't going outside doing that no more, bro. It's really rare that people do that. Cyphers now are like, you pretty much meet up at a location, you have a pre-written verse, you're recording it with high camera, quality, you pick a beat. Like, back in the days, it was like, we're gonna have a cypher at Cajon after school. We're gonna get the best MCs from each region, and you guys are gonna have to freestyle. All right, let's go. But it's, it plays a part. Like, there might not be cyphers anymore, but you can put up shots on social media. I can drop a free verse on my story. I can drop a verse every day on my story. If I reach more of an audience with social media, with the Instagram account, with TikTok. Like, music is changing constantly, but it's always gonna have its foundation of, but are you just being consistent? Are you putting up shots? I think that's what's most important about social media.
Yeah, I'm also part of your broadcast channel, and like, you're consistently posting and reminding people, like, best ways to support you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then it really inspired me to start my broadcast channel, which
Love that for you.
Yeah. Which is at like a 90 people, and to me it's like, damn, 90 people are in there.
That's huge, bro.
It's crazy. Like, 90 people are there consistently, like, because sometimes what happens is, even though people follow you, you'll post something, but the algorithm won't show it to them. Which is fucking retarded, right?
God. It's fucking backwards, bro. The whole algorithm is backwards.
And I feel like you also have like this really tight knit core fan base that really fucks with anything you do.
Yeah.
What did you do to like feed that? What did you do to start that? Like, what are some of the things that you can tell people that are very important as far as building that core fan base that you have?
Yeah, it's about again, showing up. You have to consistently be making music. But if you're not making music, I think what was important for me is picking up different traits. So learning how to engineer myself, because that opens the door to a whole new broad of people who might want to just fuck with me because they like my ear. So they might respect, my music because they're like, yo, I didn't even know you made music, but like, you engineered how many albums, how many songs who have you produced for? Like, oh, so you've done work with this guy, that guy. Honestly, I'll say it here, there's a big project coming up, probably in the next like week and a half. And pretty much with the project, I engineered the project. So I'm on the project as an artist, but I also engineered, I want to say about 95% of the album. And it's pretty much a collection of the dopest artists from the Inland Empire. Like, artists who are getting signed, artists who are already signed to majors. And luckily, I brought them into the studio that I created to be a part of this album. And I wasn't even running the album. It's not my vision, my concept. Shout out to the homie Adam. His project, his album, he runs like it's almost like what Lyrical Lemonade recently just did, where he grabbed a compilation of artists, except for he just did that for the IE. So he grabbed, notable artists, Spank Nitty James, Do the Damn Thing, Young Note, Dej Dalla, like LA Deuce, myself, like, and he grabbed all these artists who are popping in the inland, and he goes, Sonnie, well, I want you a part of the album because you're dope, but I love your engineering ear. And I think that artists sometimes, they get lazy. Like, yo, I only need to come in here and rap good. Like, no, you need to know how to market yourself. You need to know how to promote your music. And if you can, learn how to engineer, learn how to be a producer. These things are only going to open up more doors for you. Somebody in a big room, what I've learned is, even in bigger studios I've been a part of, somebody's going to value you more if you know how to do this and that, rather than just this one thing.
Yeah.
And if you're really going to do this one thing, you better be damn good at this one thing. Because if you miss, it's going to be like this, a roller coaster ride of like, that's what it was. Earlier on in my career, it's like, yo, it's a roller coaster ride because it's like, all I'm doing is this. Well, what if I use the engineering skills to help this guy's album? Well, that guy's going to respect me a lot more than just an artist. He's going to want my opinion on a broad sense of things, like, okay, does this sound good? Where does this belong? Does this go here? So engineering really, really, really helped me build that core of people as well. But opening up more doors and being multi-talented is going to have more eyes on you. You're able to release more content. Like, it's just going to open up a lot more things. And I blame that for having a better support system, because I had a foundation of rap my whole life. Like, I was rapping since I was a boy, so I could do that perfect. But how did I grow? What grew my audience? Oh, well, he doesn't just rap, he engineers. he engineered this project, that project. Who was in his studio? Oh, this guy walking to his studio. Oh, and so essentially, what I wanted to do was become a hub for artists to connect. Like, now this studio is opened up, and this guy and that guy are meeting, and that happened because Sonnie's studio. So a lot of people are now so like, dang, he's not only an artist, but he's becoming a pillar, like somebody who's trying to bridge the gap for people.
I think you used to like engineer in your house, right?
Yeah.
And now you opened up your own studio.
Yeah.
So tell me the process and why you did that. Why don't you just keep recording at your own house and stuff like that?
It was that in itself. Like I wanted to bridge the gap. Like I'm tired of, especially being from the inland, bro. A lot of shit has to come down. It boils down to people that gatekeep. Like in my personal opinion, it comes down to people who aren't willing to look back and say, hey, I feel like that's the reason why LA is Big Brother. Because you go to these different studios in LA and they're meeting up at different studios and different engineers and producers are behind it, connecting them. Like, who's running this session? Oh, this engineer is. Oh, well, tell this engineer to pull up. Oh, no, well, it's a lot. Like, it's just a lot for me to do that. And so I opened up the studio with the thought of, yo, why isn't there a hub for more artists to meet and connect with each other? Why isn't the best artists from the inland coming and recording in the Inland Empire? A lot of them record in LA. So why are some of the biggest artists outsourcing from the inland to LA? Well, because there's no hub in the inland. There's nothing in the Inland Empire that goes, dang, I want to connect this artist with that artist using this platform, this place. So that's why the studio was built. Like, the end goal, like, was, yo, I want to connect the dopest artists at the time with the dopest people. This guy's a good producer. This guy's a good artist. They should link. Oh, you have this producer pulls in with another artist. Oh, you have a beat pack, bro? All right, well, there's this album coming out. I don't know when it's going to come out, but I'll play it for the guy who's running the album. I'm the engineer, head engineer of it. I'll play it for the guy. If he likes some of the beats, he'll tell X, Y, and Z to get on a song. Then that connects the guy who is striving to the guy who they see, and it builds a hub. That's honestly why I wanted to build the studio. Like, we need that for the inland.
That's dope.
It's tough right now because a lot of music is based in LA. You know, a lot of the studio sessions are based in LA. But there's no reason why there shouldn't be something in the inland. With as much talent as there is, as much like noise that's finally being made from it. Like, you know, like I was just at an event, the Only Empire event. I was just at that event, and you know, seeing somebody like Hit Boy, seeing his mom and his sister and his people come down to San Bernardino to that event, it shows something. It shows like, hey, this guy is looking for the people in the inland. You know, you talk about Hit Boy, this is a Grammy-nominated guy. He's won Grammys, worked with the who's who. I mean, he's worked with the biggest artists in the world. And to think I was just at an event where his family, personal family, this isn't just, you know, cousin or cousin of a cousin. This is his family coming back down to the inland. Okay, well, something's happening out here. And I just want to be a part of the hub that connects the right people together so that we see more of the inland win, you know? That's really the idea for the studio.
That's dope, man. And I think you're a great example of people that like, you know, you're a self-starter. You know, we talked about it earlier too. Where like you remind me a little bit of like what I'm trying to do. You know, you know, I've always wanted to be a podcaster. I used to pay people to record and my audio, my video.
Yeah.
And like now I just do it all myself. So I kind of control like how fast I want to go. You know, I'm in the driver's seat now, which I see you're doing, which is dope. And I you know, I want to like give you your flowers. That's
man, you too, bro. I know you talked about my broadcast channel, but I like yours, bro. I love your broadcast channel. I see how consistent you are, and I'm just like, God, I'm being lazy today. I gotta work. I see it, but that's good, bro. That's good. That's good. That's the type of work ethic that I like around me, and that's the type of work ethic that a lot of hustlers have. Like,
same.
Gotta be consistent, bro. Gotta be consistent.
Yeah, I fuck with your movement and completely. Let's tell about the story about how we met.
Oh hell yeah. Yeah. We did. So funny enough, I had met you through the homie Dreams.
Yeah, shout out to Dreams.
Yeah, shout out to Dreams. And you were throwing an event. We were talking about it earlier. But I was like, I don't know why, because I rarely do shows, bro. If I'm gonna do a show, usually what I like to do, I like to bring out people. Like, I like for it to be a fun event. I'm up on stage dancing. Like, it takes a lot out of me for these shows. So I don't do a lot of shows, bro. Maybe I try to keep it to like 2 or 3 a year, like I was telling you, just because it's real. I like it. I like for it to be a spectacle. People coming out, paying their hard-earned money. Like, I want you to come out and have a good time. So I don't know why I said yes, bro. I'm gonna be honest. I have no clue to this day. And our dreams hit me, said, hey, there's this show that I'm a part of, and the homie, like, I don't know if you've ever met him. He runs like a podcast. He has an Instagram. Like, I'm gonna hit you with all of his information. Then we got on the phone, and I was like, oh, okay, he's dedicated. And even that day too, like, I know the day was probably hectic, bro. That's how fucking shows are. Like, what can go wrong will go wrong when you're running.
And a lot of things went wrong that day.
When you're running. You know what was a beautiful thing about that though? I don't know if you remember, but there was a guy that we met. I randomly walked up to him promoting the show. We were just walking around the area. I forgot. I don't know if he was a healer or what.
Yeah, the Indian dude.
Dude, some of the stuff he was saying, like, I took that and I ran with a lot of the stuff he was saying in the video, the back play of the video when I heard it. And for me, it was a great experience. Like, and again, just speaking testament to being able to have to have IE artists sell out something in LA. It was a proud moment for me. Like, dang, I don't know a lot of you. At that moment, I didn't know a lot of the IE cats that were there, but we came together and did something in LA and sold out a show in LA.
Yeah,
that got to mean something. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, and it was just it was hot, but it was a good night. Man. It was hot. Y'all know who were there.
It's crazy because that show to me was supposed to be a podcast. It was supposed to be a live podcast. I had a co-host that we were like, releasing episodes every year. And then like maybe 2 or 3 weeks before the show was about to go off, like we had a falling out. And then I decided not to have him part of the show at all, right? Yeah. So at that moment, I put on my thinking cap and I was like, what? I got the venue. I got pretty much everything already set up. Like, what can I do? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to start inviting fools that I've already interviewed. And I'm going to have them just do a music show because I've had singers and rappers too, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I reached out to Dreams, like, hey, do you know anybody else that you think will be dope? And the first person he told me was like, Sonnie Babbel. I'm like, who's that?
Fuck. Yeah.
So I did some research. I'm like, this fool's like consistent. He's like a self. I just saw because nowadays your Instagram is kind of like your resume, right?
Right.
So I saw everything. I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. And then you called me and you were like, I don't know if I want to do it. Tell me more about it.
I was like, bro, you gotta give me the information.
Even that right there, I was like, okay, so this guy's, he's taking it serious. He didn't just say yes because he's desperate to get on stage, whatever. So luckily the show, I think people that went there, other than it being super hot, they probably thought like, this was all planned out, everything went out good. But like I said, like, everything that, like you said, everything that went wrong did go wrong. The venue was too hot. The AC wasn't working.
That was crazy, bro. And they were up in there still. They were up in there still, bro. I was like, damn, by the time I was on, I'm like, I know it's hot, y'all, but I appreciate y'all just vibing with me, bro.
Yeah.
And again, that's what shows, bro. What can go wrong will go wrong a lot of the times.
Yeah, but we still pulled through, and then, again, thank you for pulling up. And
bro, your pivot was crazy. It was cool as hell. Cool as a cucumber in there, but it was fucking hot.
Yeah, and I was nervous the whole time. I felt like I was talking too fast. I had to MC it, and like, it was just a straight, like improvisation, freestyle type shit that, like.
Fuck, that's crazy. Yeah.
Did it,
I remember you were like, we're putting together the set list right now. Who should go? I'm like, all right, y'all, we all need to rally together right now and tee up. I'm like, the show starts in 25 minutes, so we need to all figure out who's going first now.
I also noticed too that you were like kind of walking around, like helping me, like assist and manage the whole thing. Where, like, I didn't even ask you to do anything, but you were like, like a good backup. Like you really helped me put that show together, dog.
Dude, it came out beautiful, bro. And again, it's a testament to what you're able to do, even if it wasn't done at the grand scale where I know you want it to be done at, right? Yeah. You were still able to bring out heads, and people probably, I think I had brought my homie out. That's one of his most fondest memories of being on that stage performing, bro. It was his first performance, and he was like, yo, that's going to go down as a core memory. So you got to think about it in the sense of that. Like, yeah, it did go wrong, but there are people who are going to carry that show for a lifetime, like damn.
And I know a lot of people had fun. It was a good spot. It came out pretty good.
It did.
But
I loved it.
Then right after that, boom, got you, bitch.
I seen that motherfucker. I was going to start swinging.
Right after that, we linked up, I guess just by coincidence, at Urbancon.
Yeah.
Because you had a set at Urbancon, right?
Yeah, that was beautiful too.
Tell me about your experience at Urbancon.
Man, that was great, bro. I'm going to be honest. I was kind of going in there blind-eyed. I didn't know exactly the amount of heads that were going, but I was talking to, shout out to Seuss and shout out to Kicks. I was in consistent contact with them the entire time leading up to the event. And again, I really don't pop out for performances because I like to keep it a spectacle. I like, to be a little bit more I like to keep my energy for performances because, you know, that could be your first introduction to a person as well. Like, your performance is sort of could be your resume for somebody who's barely meeting you, don't know anything about your social media. Like, this is a guy on stage. How are you going to wow me for 15 to 30 minutes? What is going to be the it factor about you? So when I was doing Urbancon, bro, I had heard about it through Seuss, and Seuss, like, he let me know, like, bro, this is going to be a huge event. It's going to be held at the Ontario Convention Center. And then it was dead silent for like a couple months. And I was like, dang, if it happens, it happens. If it don't happen, it don't happen. And I remember like maybe about 2 weeks leading into the event, it started picking up heavy. Like, I started hearing about it more on social media. I started seeing some influencers posted it up, and I'm like, okay, like, let's go. It started getting me more excited when I start seeing the brand, you know, push it and go forward with it. I'm like, all right, let's go. Get to the event, bro. Fucking lowriders. I mean, you could. It was a cookout, bro. It was there. So I'm like, fuck.
It's crazy because the vendors, they kind of like swap meet style. Like,
bro, straight up, bro.
There's a wrestling ring in the middle.
The wrestling ring in the middle was kind of fucking wild because I just, like, you're just, you know, you're watching artists and then you turn around and it's just some fucking guy from the top ropes going fucking full swing balls in the top ropes. It's like, all right, well, we're here.
It was wild.
So, and then you had the lowrider section, and then you had the models that were walking around. Like, it was an event. And honestly, for last year, it was a great culmination of everything that I was doing leading up to that, and then being able to perform in front of like my people, and then the amount of people that were there was sort of like, dang, this was a huge event, man. Like, there was a lot of cats there, and I brought some people on stage with me. It was a great fucking time. Really, I honestly, if I'm being honest, there are really very minimal complaints about it. Like, the shit really popped off. So I'm just like,
yeah,
man. And you know what I was saying earlier, we had met at the show, but usually when I start hanging around the right people, we start shouldering into different things. So like, oh, I remember I did the show for you, and then you're walking around Urbancon, and I'm like, all right, we're shouldering into the right, you know, the right pockets, bro.
Yeah.
That's how you know, like.
It's funny too because I started like recording like 10 seconds. I started my live stream like 10 seconds before you went up to me, and I was like, dude, the first person I interviewed, like, oh, Sonnie Babbel.
I'm like, oh,
and the energy
shit,
was
bro.
good. Your homies were there to perform. I was like, all right, this is.
It was crazy, bro.
It was a good way to start the show.
It was fucking crazy.
And since then, dog, like, you know, congratulations on winning Album of the Year.
Oh yeah, that was huge.
Is it the Only Empire?
Award show. Yeah.
Tell me how that feels, man.
Bro, that was insane. That was cool. That was you know. Speaking about like the Inland Empire and San Bernardino, I have so much love for the city that I was raised in, and there's so many talented acts like in San Bernardino. To be able to grab some hardware and be like, yo, people value that album. It was a lot, and the album is, you know, the story of what we talked about here. You know what I mean? It's the story of my struggles of losing my pops, the comeback. How am I gonna, you know, reset, do these things the right way? And it was amazing seeing like just the amount of love and support I got from that. Shout out to the Only Empire Awards, man. And there was some cool cats. That was the event I was talking about. Hit Boy's family pulled up to it. Like, you had like heavy hitters. You had Duda there. You had LA Deuce won some stuff. I know Young Note won some stuff. Like, my boy Cam Archer won. It was just a great fucking event for the IE and for the town, really. I know the homie Noah too, like a real cool OG who won. So to see that gap being bridged was beautiful, bro.
Yeah, it was tight, man.
It was a moment. It was a moment for sure.
Congratulations. Is that your first award?
Yeah, that's my first. That is my first award that I received, like, for the city. So like something that the city threw, San Bernardino threw, and yeah, hopefully more. I know, you know, that they probably have some big things in the works if they're able to get, you know, the biggest artists to even just leave a message, because I think his family came, accepted both the awards on his behalf, but then he had left like a personal message saying, hey, yo, like, I love the city, like, I appreciate you guys, thank you. And so it doesn't, like we were talking about earlier, bridging the gap, he might not realize what that does for an artist like me, like other people who are in the room, where, yo, this is a guy who has done the what's what with the who's who, reaching back, being like, yo, this city is talented, like, these awards mean something to me. It means something. Yeah. So that's how I know the inland is in the right spot. There's a lot of stuff going on that I'm really happy just to be a part of that right now.
What's next for you? Is there certain people that you want to collaborate with, people you want to do music with? And before you answer that, I also noticed that you do a lot of features.
Yeah.
You have a lot of like raps out there. And I feel like maybe I don't know how many features you've done, like maybe like 20 or 30.
I've done a lot, yeah.
Yeah, you've done a lot, right? But I feel like no one really can compare it to your fucking goddamn this fucking fly. I feel like every song I see you on there, whether it's your song, you're featuring something, like you win every battle. Do you go into knowing like, okay, whoever's rapping before me or after me doesn't matter, like I'm gonna give the best, I want to win this, because even though you're featuring with somebody, it's not really competition, but hip hop and rap, everything's a competition.
It's a friendly competition for sure. Any artist who's saying it ain't is a goddamn liar. That's a lie. If somebody goes in there and they spit, it's like, yo, I gotta come with my A game. Honestly, where that stems from is being a part of the label. So I was the young guy a lot. I was the guy who was left out when I was in the label. I was the feature that was left out. Like, bro, feature wasn't that good. Like, it just didn't hit the way I want to. We're gonna leave it out the song. So being young and then seeing that, I was like, nah, everything I do moving forward, like, it got to be top notch, because these are people who are paying for features, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, to me, it's more than just a transaction. I want to give you a piece of me that can live on with you forever. So whatever feature I do, I'm always trying to bring like everything I got to it, like it's my own music, because whether that artist continues his journey or not, that's something that I want him to be proud of and worth whatever dollar amount that I so choose. Like, hey, I think the verse needs this, and a lot of times when I hop on a feature, it becomes instantly like a collaborative effort. Like, we need to, if I feel like the song is dry on this end, like, yo, we need to switch this on your part, and they don't have to do that, you know. So I approach every feature like, yo, this is a piece of me that you're gonna have forever. I'm gonna give it my all. Like,
who are some of the people you would love to work with right now?
Man, shit, bro. Honestly, I love what Ralphie the Plug's doing out here in LA, bro. He's been like a huge staple for like independent LA guys. I know Ralphie, he's tapped in with a couple guys from the inland, so I know we can make that work. I know eventually that will get done. Let's see. I love to work with the homie J.I. Bands, man. I love to work with J.I. Bands. We're from the same city. We have some mutuals that, like, we go back a cool minute. So I know we could probably get that done. And man, I like to work with a producer. I'd like to work with Hit Boy. I think we can get it done.
Yeah?
Yeah, aim for the stars, baby, land on the moon. Aim for the stars, land on the moon, baby. Aim for the stars, land on the moon, bro. Yeah, I'd love to work. I mean, how dope would that be, bro? Like,
that'd be hard.
Yeah, like, even if, bro, I don't have everything, have the royalties to it, I don't, you know what I'm saying? Let me just go in there and spit a verse. You know what I'm saying? Let's see what we can do type shit.
That'd be dope, bro.
That would be dope as fuck for the city, bro. Like, damn, that would be it, man.
Man, I really appreciate you putting us to the podcast, bro. You know,
Thank you,
where the podcast is slowly but surely, you know, gaining some traction, gaining some momentum right now, and then obviously you having, you know, being I consider you one of the kings of the IE or San Bernardino.
Thank you,
for
brother.
sure.
I appreciate that,
you know,
man.
having
Thank
you
you.
pull up to the podcast is a really big thing. But let the people know what you got coming up next, what they can expect from you, and where they can find you.
Yeah, man. So I have the IE album project, like I was talking about. I didn't write the album or produce it, but I did a lot of the engineering work for it. So I'm really happy to promote that, man. Like, that's gonna be something huge for the inland. And eventually down the line, I'm gonna be releasing another album. And when we do the album, like, we'll make sure to circle back, do everything for it, get the promo run for it, because I just appreciate being here, man, and the genuine connection. Like, this wasn't something that's was just founded over Instagram. Like, we actually connected. Like, we've done shows together. So, man, I'd love to be back. I'd love for you to have me when the album does come out, and pull up to the event we do, bro, because usually the events I throw, I try to make them as theatrical, as massive as I can. So yeah, they can find me everywhere, Sonnie Babbel on everything, on Instagram, Life is Sonnie, LIFESONNIE. Yeah, the S places like I and is, so some people get confused, but Sonnie Babbel and everything else, all DSPs. Currently not on Spotify, because I'm on like a little independent movement right now. Not fucking with that penny's worth shit on Spotify. But yeah, I'm gonna be coming up with some stuff real soon. Should have a website up really soon for people to access the album who are Spotify users and Apple users. I'm just creating a website to feed the people, give them more music, give them more content, and yeah, I appreciate you for having me, bro. It's love, man. Thank you.
Appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate you, bro.
Last thing, because I did notice, I was trying to do a little more research. I did notice on like the Spotify only has some of your older stuff.
Yeah.
If they want to listen to current stuff, where do they go?
Apple Music. I know the album was posted up on YouTube. I know there's a playlist on YouTube for it. Spotify right now, man, I am not rocking with Spotify. Like,
why is that?
Bro, just some crazy shit, man. Just some fucking crazy shit. My homie, who's been preaching independence. Well, first of all, they try to cap on my name, saying that I bought bots to flood one particular song, right? But if you know the song that was artificially botted, it has my homie on it, Curtis King, and the homie Curtis King for like the longest time has been on like his independent grind, and he's been going after Spotify for like 2 months. So it so happened to be a coincidence. The album was taken down because it has bots, but this particular artist that's been going up against Spotify, and this isn't somebody who is who is a regular John Doe. This is somebody who has a community. He's built a YouTube community. I believe, in my honest, like, gun to the head, tell the truth, Sonny, I think Spotify is after my boy, because he's been preaching independence, like, for the artist to make as much of your worth of music. And because of that, I'm going to stand behind him, bro, and I want to stand behind the homie who's preaching independence. And whether or not it's because Disho Kid thinks something happened or anything, I know the relationship that I've built with him is something that's deeper than streams. So currently not on Spotify. Fuck Spotify. Respectfully, I know the music is worth more than 0.3 of a cent. So shout out to the homie Curtis too. We've had a conversation about it, and he's inspiring me to get the website up. So once the website is up, people can sign up for the website for absolutely free. It'll have all my music on there. It'll have merchandise that people can get for free. Like, I'm pretty much gonna create the platform for my independent run.
That's dope.
Right.
Last thing before we go, shout out to everyone who bought a shirt and a little hoodie. We sold out this time. I'm thinking about like putting some more up for sale, but we'll figure that out eventually. Like this shit, comment it, and share it with your homies. Thank you guys for pulling up, turning
all of that.